Can you see me? You didn't miss anything. I just started, Ronnie. Can you hear me? Excellent. I'm glad you guys can hear me. So, what's up, everybody? 300 subs. How awesome is that? Hey, what's up, Clock? 4 warnings. Thanks for coming. Ronnie, thanks for coming. Alice, thank you. So, does anybody have any questions for me? Hey, thank you, Ronnie. You're awkward, Alice. Hey, thank you, April. I do know the Muffin Man. In fact, I know him quite well. That's how I got as big as I am, actually. He's a bastard. I am so sexy because of years, and I'm talking years of practice. I just lost the chat. Did my stream just collapse? No, the chat's back now. What the hell? Do I know the milkman? No, I don't know the milkman, but my mom did. My door looks like it's breaking down because there is a monster in my closet. Yeah, you talking about that one? I keep a monster in my closet back there. I started my channel because Alice there, I was talking when right on the Dark Somnium's Discord channel, I was talking like right when I joined to a group of kids, and Alice was listening to me, and she heard my voice, and she insisted that I start doing narrations, and she quite literally tossed me into the horror hive and then told me that I have to do the narration. So I did my first narration, and it was horrible. It was horrible. I recorded it on this cheap, crappy Logitech headset, and then she actually made my YouTube page for me and told me that I have to start putting out videos. And she told me, what was it, like 2 a week, Alice? Is that what it was? It was like 2 a week, but then I just started doing 1 a day, and I've been doing 1 a day ever since because, I just want to do 1 video a day. Yeah, yeah, and I'm really glad that the Horror Hive actually gave me a chance, considering I had never once ever recorded myself. So that was pretty interesting. Um, but yeah, that's how I got started. That's why I got started. Hey, what's up, man? Wolfpack Woodcraft. Yeah, it's the same mic you got, dude. It's that same one you got. So, but yep, that's why I started doing the narrations and things like that. And hey, what's up, Tommy? Thanks for stopping by. The dream is to take over the horror narration genre completely, and I refuse to stop until I am narrating movies. And then I won't stop. So I'm not going to stop until I get enough. But yeah, that's the plan. Is I plan on continuing to use my voice for as long as my voice will allow. I have a lot of fun doing this and doing little voice actings with the videos and things like that. So yeah, Corey. Well, there was no way I wasn't going to use your link to do it. So I mean, I hope that you did end up getting something from that, even if it was just a minuscule amount. I do hope you got something from that because you've been a friend of mine on YouTube. So I wanted to help you out any way that I could. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm broke as all hell. So I figured if I had to buy myself a new mic, I might as well try to help one of my YouTube friends out in the process. Yeah, yeah, Eldritch, I would like to do like the TV presentation sort of stuff, things like that, television, movies, anything like that, honestly. Anything that would have to do with voice acting or voiceovers and things like that. Um, I, forewarnings, I actually enjoy reading fictions written by authors that might not be as well known. So like the creepy pastas and things like that, I enjoy doing them. I enjoy reading them. But as far as the narrations go, I actually enjoy finding authors that write short stories and you know, and go from there. And I've found a few authors. My favorite one is so far is Double Jack. As I'm sure anyone who pays attention to my channel, they'll know that I have done quite a few of his stories, and I continue to do his stories until I've done them all, and then continue to do even more. Um, Also, Rainer Lewington. I've done quite a few of his stories now, and there is another guy that I've started doing some stories for named R. Ren Writer. He has some pretty good stories, and Augie Peterson too. I have done some stories for. My favorite horror story is a toss up between The Stand and Pet Cemetery. No, I haven't seen Dark Tower. I don't get to really watch a whole lot of stuff, unfortunately. I don't have the funds to go to the movies, and I really don't have the time to watch a lot of movies either. Well, I love trying to add to the stories the best I can, so I try to do the voice actings. If it's male parts, I always do the male parts myself, just because I like to try to challenge myself as much as I can with like any sort of voice acting skills or playing with the audio and things like that, because I'm still learning. I haven't been doing this very long, you know. So I'd like to keep trying to learn, keep trying to push myself. I plan on doing movie commentary or something like that. Um, but with this channel, I plan on sticking with narration of stories for the most part. Um, this I just love to read, and I love to read out loud. My art skills, well, I did put, I mean, I used to put some of my pictures on some of my thumbnails, but I honestly I don't have the time to draw. I spend a long time editing my audio and doing all that, finding the stories that I want to read and all that good stuff. I have I have a lot of time into that every day. And if it's a longer story, it can take me quite a few hours. Collaborations. I have done some collaborations with quite a few different people. The Dark Somnium, I've worked with him. Usually it's on their channel, unless I need a female voice. If I need a female voice, I do ask some people, because I have a rough time doing a female voice myself. Even actually recently, I can't remember the story now. What was that story? I can't remember, but recently I did a story where I actually did do the female voice, which was pretty hilarious. There was two female voices. Yeah, Alice has done voices for me. Heather has done voices for me. Um, Zombie Corn did voices for me. Eldritch did voices for me. Um, I've tried because now I know quite a few people, so I try to ask around to see if I can get plenty of people to help me out. But I mean, I feel bad that I never asked, like, because I got lots of male friends on here that are into the narration and stuff. Yeah, Eldritch helped me out, even though he's a dude. But but I just like to challenge myself with the male voices. I'd like to try to see what I can. Oh, can you do a female voice, Danny? Danny, if you can do a female voice, I will totally have you in one of my stories, dude. Oh, it's too late now. Now you got to. You already said it. Now you have to. I'll, I'll play with the pitch a little bit and see if we can make it work. Well, Eldritch, all I had to do really, I think, was a little bit of like noise reduction and raise the volume up a little bit or something, maybe. I mean, I usually don't have to do a whole lot. I'm like Vincent Price, really. Wow, that is like one hell of a compliment, actually. I love Vincent Price. Yeah, yeah, Danny and Eldritch, you guys totally got this. Don't worry, it's all good. Alice, are you stalking me? I do have a little trouble doing the younger kid voices, which kind of sucks because a lot of times I do get stuck doing younger kids and I end up having to do the pitch and it sounds a little shoddy at times. I've been working on it though, trying to get it a little bit better and everything else. Eldritch, a lot of people I've noticed got the trouble with quieter recordings for some reason. And I'm not sure why that is. I used to have the issue with, like, when I was using the headset, I had a big issue with it, and not so much now with this mic though. So I don't send you that many voice files. What are you talking about? Yeah, I do got the phantom power now, so that did help. You're right, Corey. Or I should say, Wolfpack Wolfpack Woodcraft. The phantom power hooked up to the microphone does help a lot. April, are you serious? You went to school with the kid that played Gage in Pet Cemetery? How cool is that? Did you ask him what it was like to get ran over by an 18 wheeler? I would have. I do like to sing. There's a few people that have a file of me singing, actually. Alice, you're not the only one. Yeah, Heather has a file of me singing. Actually, Heather might have a couple files of me singing now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah. Hey, Johnny. Thanks for coming, man. No, I'm not gonna sing right now, okay? Maybe in a different live stream I can sing. Thank you. Thank you, Johnny. You talking about The Sound of Silence, Alice? Do you have 3 songs, Heather? Really? Did did I ever send you the Heather, did I send you the glycerine file that I sang for Matilda? Wow, that's awesome, April. I'm kind of jealous, actually. That's really cool. I did send it to you, yeah. I thought that one actually turned out pretty good, Heather. That's why I sent it to you. Because I had sent it to Matilda. You're sitting in the dark outside. Well, there ain't nothing wrong with sitting in the dark. So, is there any other questions? Would you guys like me maybe to try to do some live reading, something like that? And the chat keeps cutting out on me. It'll like disappear and then come back for some reason. I don't know why. Hey, welcome back, Clock. Clock's heard me sing. I serenaded Clock there to sleep one day. My favorite character to voice. Honestly, I think, funny enough, I think my favorite character to voice was the clown in Guzozo so far. Of the ones that I've done, of the stories I've recorded. The clown Guzozo was so much fun. And that was Little Wicked Devil Jack story. Wait, April, who are you on Discord? I look young and fit? Wait, Boogeyman, are you British? Because if you're British, are you calling me sexy? Oh, thank you. Yeah, Boogeyman, and by the way, to the question that you had sent me in Discord, the answer is yes. You said I'm Mexican as fuck. If I could voice anyone, um, I don't know. Honestly, Corey, I'm not sure. Like, there's not necessarily a character that I would want to voice. There are plenty of character types that I like to voice. Like, I like to voice professor sort of types, and I also like to voice demons and things of that nature, and the clowns, and like the Joker, something like that. Things like that. I get a lot of fun doing stuff like that. Um, so anything like that, I kind of have a lot of fun doing, especially demons and things like that. I have to play with the audio and stuff like that to really make it sound the way I would really want to. Excuse me, but yeah, Darth Vader, Luke, I am your father. I guess it's no. Oh, that's all right, Boogeyman. I'll get more subs. They'll come. I've only been doing this for like 2.5, 3 months, something like that now. I haven't been doing it too long. Well, thank you, Corey. that eventually I'd like to do some stuff like that. I do audition for some voice acting roles, non-paying ones, just to wait, what was an awesome impersonation? Oh, the Darth Vader. Forget I even did that. I mess around so much, I don't even remember it. Do I believe in the Mandela effect? I do believe in the Mandela effect. I do. Hey, what up, Sightless? I have actually had quite a few interesting Mandela effect things happening to me. Did we start in the same week, Boogeyman? Are you serious? Oh yeah, the Mandela effect is some serious stuff. The Mandela effect that blew my mind the most was the Ford symbol having the little curly Q. And my chat disappeared. But the Ford symbol having the little curly Q on there, um, really messed me up. Hold on. I gotta read back up. The chat's actually going really quick. Oh, I see. Alice was saying goodbye to me. I don't know if you're still here, Alice, but bye. Thanks for stopping in. Um, but yeah, I actually, when I first heard that, I didn't believe it about the Ford symbol. So I actually went out and looked at the car, and lo and behold, there was this little curly Q on the Ford symbol. And it didn't make any sense to me at all. Because like in sixth grade, yes. Yep, sixth grade, I was friends with this guy that was like totally obsessed with Fords. And he and I used to sit there and draw the Ford symbol all the time, just because. And there was never that little curly Q. And so when I seen the little curly F in there, it really made my freaking brain explode, like totally. And that's when I really started looking into the Mandela effect. And there was quite a few other things like Sinbad in that Shazam movie. I'm sorry, but Sinbad played a fucking genie in that movie. I remember it. It ruined the dude's career. And they're like, "Oh no, you're just thinking about that Shaq movie." No, no, because I remember when that Shaq movie came out, I remember thinking, why the hell would they make another one of those movies when that shit ruined Sinbad's career? Any Mandelas that I think you haven't heard of? Um, Not right off the top of my head. Wait, what did Sightless? Do you believe that time is like a tree? I believe that time is like waves, and that yeah, it's possible that it branches out. Well, see, this is the thing. Honestly, I believe that time doesn't exist at all. Time is constructed and made by man. If it wasn't for man, time wouldn't exist. It would just everything would just be, you know what I mean? Like time would still pass, but the idea of time is created by man. We are the ones that thought of it. So, but I think that the idea of time goes in waves, and every once in a while things happen and things cross and things smash into each other and everything else. Like another Mandela effect that blew my mind was I remember Earth being on the Sagittarius arm, way, way out towards the edge of our galaxy. and we're not anymore. And so that makes me wonder that if the earth I am on now is even the earth I started off on, and how did I get here if it's not? You know what I mean? Let me see what Danny said. I remember her using a gavel too, Danny. What? Yeah, but Pluto really did used to be classified as a planet, though. So that's not actually a Mandela effect. Hey, what's up, Clint? Thanks for stopping in, man. Heather. All right. So, I mean, do you guys still want to talk about random subjects, or would you like me to do a live reading, or what? I mean, you guys run the show here. You guys are the subs that got me here. Ah, yeah, Black Brew. When's Black Brew coming out, Reaper? You want to tell everybody that? In the story Black Brew, that the I believe it's coming out with the Horror Hive. I played the main part of the professor. All right, let me find some stuff to live read here. Oh, Danny sent me something to read. All right, let's check this out. Sorry. All right, let's see here. A creepy RuneScape story. Hold on, let me get things situated here. All right, so I'm going to read this. It's called A Creepy RuneScape Story, written by Gina. So my story takes place purely online, but nonetheless, it was creepy. When I was about 10 years old, I started playing the online MMORPG known as RuneScape. I started playing during late 2006, and it was common for people to have an online boyfriend or girlfriend. As an incredibly immature 10-year-old girl, I got a boyfriend. He said he was also 10 years old, and I, of course, believed him. He told me that he also lived in Australia, although in another state to me, and that he went to. What? Oh, I see. He told me that he also lived in Australia, although in another state to me, and he went to school. I added him on MSN, and he would introduce me to his friends and his family. His sister would come on and talk to me almost every day, telling me that he told her and his friends how much he loved me, and he always used to talk about me at school. This went on for 2 years. It was then 2008, and I was 12 years old. All of a sudden, he changed. He had added most of my friends from school on MSN and began talking to them, asking them if they had fingered themselves, telling them all the nasty things he would do to them, rape, and that he would come and find them and eventually kill them. I can't remember every little thing he said anymore as it was 8 years ago. Somehow I had found out what his MySpace was, and I saw that he was actually 17 years old. This means that he dated, I use that term loosely as we were not really dating, a 10-year-old girl online for 2 years, only to befriend her and then tell her that he would find her, rape her, and kill her. Being a little bit older, I started putting everything together. I realized that there was no sister, no friends, and they were all him, all characters that he made to put together a story of a 10-year-old boy, and I fell for it. He also had friends in game that I played with a lot. They claimed to be a couple in their 30s and were a fireman and a doctor, and yet they were in game almost 24/7. This doesn't make sense. Upon finding out who I had actually been talking to, I immediately told my mom, and together with my dad, we printed the MSN chat logs and took them straight to the police. The police didn't know what they were reading and couldn't do anything about it. I just blocked them on MSN and RuneScape and made sure that my friends did the same. I took a small break from RuneScape after that, but I came back in 2009. In 2010, I decided to unblock him and check if he was online. He went under the name Pure Hibiscus, and there he was, online. Of course, I didn't know if it was actually him, as he may have sold his account, but being older, I thought I could yell at him, ask him how he could do that to a 10-year-old girl for 2 years, but I chickened out. I kept I kept him at it for ages and eventually reblocked him. I regret not talking to him. That's pretty fucking creepy. Anybody else got any stories that you want me to read? I have actually never played RuneScape. Never once have I ever played RuneScape. So should I just like look up some creepy pastas or something? Johnny's gonna look try to find some of his favorite stories. I hope I read that right because I would like to see more stories. Johnny, are you on Discord, man? Why didn't you think I would have read that, Danny? I'll read anything. Well, hey man, hit me up on Twitter, Johnny, if you get on Discord, okay? I'll invite you to my Discord server. Well, what are you gonna eat, Danny? Because I mean, I like food. All right. In the meantime, I am just gonna find another story to read in this creepy pasta list. We'll see here. Okay, what's this one? Random story. Let's do it. All right. This one is called Grubby the Taker by the Fatal Brothers. Is that what that says? Yes, the Fatal Brothers is who supposedly wrote this. All right. The following dialogue was found written on a scrap of paper in the cell of a now missing John Doe. Sometimes things go missing. It happens to everyone. For my family, it was more than just that. At first, it didn't seem like much. A few missing articles of clothing, my wife's earrings, and some silverware. Then it started to change and things went then it started to change and things weren't just going missing anymore. Chairs would be moved to the opposite side of the room. Items that didn't belong to us would replace our missing objects. It continued for weeks before stopping abruptly, and for some time it never occurred again, until the day the dog went missing. We kept him inside and locked the door at night after we let him out for a few minutes before bed. One day we woke up and he was just gone. No open or unlocked doors, and his kennel was unopened. We posted missing signs all over the neighborhood thinking he had just run off. For months, we never gave it much more thought than that. That's around the same time my daughter went missing. No open windows or doors, just like the dog. She was gone without a trace. We kept telling everyone, but we had no clue what happened to her. No one believed us. I tried to stay strong, but my wife fell apart at the seams. Most days she didn't even get out of bed. Weeks went by without word of our daughter's whereabouts. I was beginning to fear the worst. We had been hearing about people going missing in the same manner as our daughter. It was all over the news and in the papers. I drew a conclusion that my daughter was connected with these vanishings. That's when I started seeing him. It was only ever glimpses through reflections, mostly mirrors, but in glasses and reflective surfaces as well. When I told my wife, she called me crazy. She said that it was the loss of our daughter was hitting us both hard. She screamed and cried and she began blaming me. One day we fought worse than we ever had before. The house was unkept, and the last thing I said to my wife before I stormed out the door was that I wished that she was the one who had disappeared. I came home later that day, and no matter how much I looked, my wife was nowhere to be found. Just like the dog, just like my daughter. No open windows and no open doors. Not a single trace to be found. Before they locked me up, I continued to catch glimpses of him behind me. So strange that I only ever caught him in reflections. When I would turn to face him, I would find I was alone. I simply thought I was going crazy until he gave me his name. He didn't speak it. I don't think he talks or makes any noises at all. I woke up one morning in pain and found it scratched into my chest. Such an odd name. Grubby. How could a name like that bring so much fear to my entire being? I showed the investigators my wounds when they took me in, but they just wrote it off as self mutilation. It's like he wants to be known, but only as a phantom. I still can't shake the feeling that he is behind me. There's no reflective surfaces in my cell, so I can't confirm it, but I know he's there. I am writing this in the dark. My cell is locked. There are no windows, and I think he's going to take me. The police found this letter in an empty cell where the father had been held and awaiting questioning of the disappearances of his wife and daughter. There were no signs of a struggle. The cell was locked tight, and there was no possible escape without being let out by security. He was simply gone without a trace. Further investigation is pending on his and his family's disappearance. That's that story. Unsettling stories. Sorry if I'm missing comments when I'm reading. Ooh, no, I don't want to leave that page. Hold on. New tab. Soft teeth. All right, let's check this out. All right. And why they gotta throw all these ads in the middle of it? That's messed up. Okay. So this one is called Soft Teeth by Max Lobdell. I think it says Lobdell. Lobdell. I apologize if I pronounced this man's name wrong. I remember the man with soft teeth. He'd come into my room at night and bite me over and over. The bites didn't hurt and they left no marks. All I felt was the pressure. The first time I saw his face, I was terrified. His eyes were different. Instead of two eye sockets, he had nine. There were clusters in front of his face and up his forehead like a honeycomb, two on top, four in the middle, and three on the bottom. The sockets didn't house eyeballs. There was a single, thin eye stalk growing from them in the center of each hole. Each stalk swayed in front of his face like long grass in the breeze. When he'd visit me, I'd lose the ability to move or scream. All I could do was watch. After a week of visits, my parents didn't believe a word that came out of my mouth. I thought sleeping with the light on might keep him away. That was the night he started biting my face. The man would always move slowly and with great care. Every motion seemed calculated and precise. I didn't know what he was doing, but I had no doubt he did. The first time he got close to my head, I saw the inside of his mouth. Like his eyes, his teeth were unlike any I'd seen. There were three rows of bulbous growths pushing from an array of holes in his gum line. They looked as soft as they felt. Each one was covered in fine, downy hairs. They reminded me of the fat bodies of moths. He'd open my mouth with his index finger and thumb. He'd then get close. I felt his eye stalks brushing against my face and forehead and eyes as he pressed his upper teeth against my lower ones. He'd close his mouth around my chin, locking my lower jaw in his mouth. It was uncomfortable, but it didn't hurt. The man would stay there for 10 minutes at a time, gradually modulating the pressure of his jaw against mine. On the last night he visited me, he performed the same steps. Once my jaw was in his mouth, though, he applied more pressure than he used to in the past. His eye stalks straightened out and felt like firm cables against my face. As the pressure increased, I felt his teeth start to burst against my own. One by one, the thick, insectile bodies inside his mouth succumbed to the pressure and coated my tongue and gums with thick, bitter paste. I felt his tongue, which had never been involved in our interactions before, extending over my teeth and massaging the paste into my gums. I tried to retch, but even that had been taken from me. The man did the same with my upper teeth and palate. When he left, I could move again. I rushed to the bathroom and threw up and brushed my teeth more times than I could count. I never saw the man again. It's been 25 years. I've been plagued by dental issues my entire adult life. Every visit brings worse news. It's gotten to the point where I'm dealing with irreversible bone loss. Eventually, my teeth will fall out. The foundation to which they're attached is simply deteriorating. It's not uncommon, but it's rare for someone my age who is otherwise in perfect health. As if on cue, the day after my most recent trip to the dentist, I lost my first tooth. I'd felt it loosen, and the dentist said it was only a matter of time and more will follow. I scheduled an appointment to see him in 3 months. It was as frequently as my insurance would allow. More of my teeth started to wiggle, and when I poked at them with my tongue, I started to accept their fate. I recently, my resignation has developed flickers of fear and disbelief. The tooth that fell out started to grow back. I'd never heard of such a thing. But I can't see something, but I can see something grayish white pushing through this raw socket. When I touch it with my tongue, it's soft. I can feel my tongue brushing against it, almost as if it has nerves of its own. I'm trying not to think back to memories of the man in my room, but it's impossible not to. Not when more of my teeth grow looser by the day, and especially not when I have 7 painful spots near my eyes and forehead that feel softer than they should. That's that one. Has anyone else suggested any other stories? Yeah, that was a pretty creepy story. Oh, Zombie Corp. Thanks for stopping in. Glad you could make it. Oh, Well, Johnny, I guess I only know you on Twitter, really. So I guess you could send me a message on my Twitter with a link, maybe, and then I could take the link and then read the story. Another thing that I could do is I could tell you guys about some of my personal experiences if you'd like. Um, is there anything that would make me squeamish about reading a story? Let's see here. I guess if it went into like some really serious details about like child molestation or something like that, like Devil Jack, he has had some pretty gruesome scenarios in his stories, but he is so good at like not crossing a line to where it is getting too graphic. He keeps it right there on that line where it's teetering to and fro, and I really appreciate that about his writing. But like, I wouldn't want to get into a story that is like going into detail about penetration and things like that. Anything like that, I'd prefer not to read. Um, un- Unfortunately, I usually don't actually read the stories before I record the stories. So like just like these live readings that I just did, that's the same way that I record the stories. For the most part, I just find a story, glance it over real quick to make sure it, would be okay, and then I start recording and start reading. And then I just edit out any mistakes in the process and I wait till I'm done, but then I edit out any mess ups I do and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't care if you're going to go into detail about ripping somebody limb from limb and then eating their intestines or something crazy like that. I'll read that. That sounds amazing. But as far as some pedophilia or like graphic rape or things like that, I really don't want to get into that. So, cuz I mean, I'm like firmly against stuff like that. So, okay, yeah. All right. So I'll tell you guys about my couple of my real life paranormal experiences. So the first one I'll tell you will be an experience that had the only thing that I could think of is that it had to be like a Wendigo or some sort of forest spirit or something. I'm not sure what it was. But last summer I was at a party. It was a bonfire with a friend of mine. It was at a friend of mine's, but I went with another friend of mine and his family, and that was his wife and his four daughters. Now his daughters are pretty young. They go from at the time I think the oldest one was 10, and the youngest one was like 3. So we're all there and we're all hanging out. We're all sitting in front of the bonfire, drinking a couple of beers, and the kids are on this trampoline just hanging out and stuff. And it's dark out. Um, but me and my buddy start hearing this like coyote, but it was like a baby coyote kind of whimpering off into the woods. And so we ignored it for a little while. But after some time went by, I'm like, you know what, dude, I'm gonna go check that out. Now I'm 36 years old, I'm disabled, and I walk with a cane. Okay. So I get myself back there. And I love the forest, by the way, so I don't mind going into the woods at all. The woods don't scare me. Actually, paranormal stuff doesn't scare me at all. Like not even a little bit. I go towards it. I think it's fun. But I have this flashlight right here, which is like 1,000 lumen flashlight, which is it's pretty darn bright. So I go back there to where I heard the sound, and I'm hearing the sound, and I start, like, how you would call like a dog, like that sort of stuff. I was doing stuff like that, and I was hearing this little puppy, and it sounded maybe 20 foot away from me in the woods, 15, 20 foot right in front of me. I could hear it crying, and it's not coming to me. I'm shining my flashlight, trying to see eyes glowing. There's no eyes, there's no flash from the eyes or anything like that. And then suddenly, the sound of this puppy shoots like 25, maybe more, foot to the left with no sound of movement in between. All right. I'm 36 years old. That's how old I am. I'm 36. But so the sound of this puppy shoots over with no sound whatsoever, and suddenly it's over here, and I'm like, what the hell? And so I'm like, okay, whatever. Maybe I just didn't hear it. Maybe there's more than one. I don't know. So I'm still flashing the flashlight, trying to see, still trying to call it over to me. And then suddenly it shoots over again, another 15, 20 foot to my left. And still the same sounds, like over and over again. And still there's no eyes. Still there was no sound of movement. And then it shoots back to where it originally was. And at this point, I'm confused. I mean, it's in the middle of the woods. Something's moving. You can hear it in the middle of the night, in the middle of the woods. I didn't hear a damn thing. So I'm still shining this flashlight. I can't see anything whatsoever. Oh, see you later, Zombie Core. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. Um, where was I? Yes, I'm still shining the flashlight. Can't see anything, right? Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I hear this. I don't even know how to describe it. It was like this screeching sound, but it was like nothing that I'd never heard anything like it in my life ever. It was like, and it was like 10 foot above me in this tree. I was standing under a tree, and it was like 10 foot above me in this freaking tree, man. So I had the flashlight in my hand already on, and I suddenly was like, what the fuck? And I shined my flashlight up there. And for just a split second, just a tiny little split second, I seen what looked like a man-sized. Oh, tell your cat that I'm sorry, Johnny. I didn't mean to scare your cat. But it was like a man-sized thing. I wish I could have got a better look at it, honestly, but it had like palish grayish looking flesh. It wasn't fur, it wasn't feathers, anything like that. And it had like some brownish on it too. And soon as I looked up with the flashlight, it was in the process of jumping out of the tree. And so I'm like, what the hell was this, So I run over to the side of the tree so I can get a look at the other trees because I was right under that one. Oh, I got a few tattoos. These ones say Living Dead. I got a demon right there. I got another demon here. I got another demon here. I got like some witchcraft on my chest. And I got like some skulls and grim reapers on my legs. I got an angel that I did myself on my leg. But anyway, so this thing jumps out of the tree, and I run around the tree, and I shine my flashlight to try to get a better look at this thing. And there's no movement in any of the trees. I can hear no movement in the forest whatsoever. And there was nothing. It didn't make any sense. Like no sense. First of all, this thing was like I'm about 6 foot tall, and this thing was about as big as me, except for super skinny. He wasn't like as big as me, but he was like super skinny. And this thing just jumped out of a freaking tree. Now, how is something that's going to be about 6 foot tall, how is that going to be able to jump out of a tree without making any sound or movement in the next tree over or anything? But by this time, a couple of people from the party, my buddy's wife, and one of the daughters of the people we were at, who was like 19 or so. They come up to me asking me if I was okay. Oh, hey, Penny, thanks for coming in. And creepy archives. Thanks for coming in too. But anyways, sorry. Um, so they come over because they heard me go, "What the fuck," and so they're asking me what's going on, and I'm telling them I don't know what the hell's going on. That just didn't make any sense to me. So we back up out of the not completely out of the woods, but more towards the yard, and we're talking, and all of a sudden in this tree, a different tree, I see this like black mist, and I'm like, well, what the hell is that? And I didn't say what I seen, so I walk over there, and I'm like underneath the foliage of the tree, and I see this black mist just kind of floating and swirling. And then all of a sudden it takes off and flies over to the left into the woods. And right when it does that, I hear one of the ladies that walked up to me say, "What was that?" And so I come out there and I'm like, "Well, what did you see?" And she tells me that she's seen a black mist fly off to the left into the woods. She told me she's seen exactly what I seen. And I don't know what else it could have been besides like a Wendigo trying to lure in the girls, pretending to be a puppy because it wanted to eat them. But then my big ass came with a stick to walk with, and it was like, holy shit. I don't know. Oh, and that's another thing. I have zero problem with you guys supporting each other and everybody supporting each other on my live streams. If I do a live stream, everybody support each other. If you're not sub to each other, then sub each other. Because it's called a community. You know what I mean? Oh, you mean that little sign on the wall behind me, or do you mean my fancy fire extinguisher? Yeah, I gotta be safe. Safety first, people. The sign says, "Welcome, welcome to our campfire, where friends and marshmallows get toasted together." But yeah, if you guys want to sub each other, sub each other. It's all about the community. You know what I mean? Stick together. Everybody needs to stick together. Excellent, Boogeyman. Did anyone? Oh, wait. Ah, Johnny did send me a story. Sorry, I gotta try to. All right. All right. So, Johnny's story by Red Grin. Best single part 2015. This thing won an award or something? Is that what this is? All right. So, I believe this is the title. 10 years ago, I taught sophomore creative writing. Two student stories still haunt me to this day. And let me take a drink of water first. Hey, Mr. Reality, thanks for coming by, man. Fresh out of college, I took a teaching job in some town in central Wisconsin. In my sophomore creative writing class, I assigned a flash fiction exercise around Halloween. We'd study urban legends and folklore, and it was the students' turn to construct stories of their own. Assignment length 100 to 1,000 words. Directions scare me. The submission quality was as expected. These were sophomores after all. But one story stood out halfway through my stack of papers, a piece by a quiet student named Jake. His first person flash his first person flash fiction blah, 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 blah. His first person flash fiction story seemed so real, like it was dipped in reality. a little too closely, almost like he wasn't making it up, but had been retelling something that happened to him. I put it aside, impressed. Kate's submission was the last paper in the stack. I remember reading I remember the reading experience vividly, the beads of sweat accumulating around my temples, the clickety click of the red pen in my hand, and a weird feeling of dread in the pit of my stomach. I placed it on top of Jake's story and thought, what the hell am I going to do? I still have photocopies of the original stories, and I often wonder, why do I still have these? But there's something about them. They're so interconnected, and there's something so raw and beautiful about them. I have a strong affinity for interesting students' writing, and it'd be a shame to let the flames of these stories be extinguished. I'll share the students' pieces and the subsequent events that transpired right here. I do enjoy a good story. Jake's flash Jake's flash fiction. My parents put Grandma Rosie in the home when she started to lose her grasp on reality, they said. I still found it cruel, but she seemed content. Content enough, I guess. I remember visiting her. She had an old wooden rocking chair that faced the window. Outside was nothing but flat fields of green. The green would eventually fade, and when it snowed, it was carpets of white for miles and miles. I'm not sure which season Grandma Rosie liked the most. She didn't do a lot of talking. She mainly listened to her radio and always one station, 89.1. But 89.1 never had a signal. It was always static. Grandma Rosie listened to the static all day, seemingly waiting out her life. No one could reach her. I visited one day to drop off a box of chocolates. Grandma Rosie rocked slowly in her chair with large headphones over her ears, staring out the window, watching the snowfall. I couldn't tell if she knew I was there. I walked over and placed the chocolates on a small table, and her hand suddenly reached across and snatched my wrist. Shh, she whispered. Listen. Grandma Rosie leaned in close, and I put my ear to hers. I lifted up the cup of her headphone and listened. It was only static. I was about to speak, but she covered my mouth with her hand. Listen closer, she said. I did, but all I heard was more static. Soon they will come, she said. They will come to take me away. This freaked me out a little, and I went home. I told my mom and dad about what happened, but they didn't think it was that weird. I kept thinking about it. One night I couldn't sleep, so I buzzed my friend Abby on her walkie-talkies. She lived across the street, and she lived across the street, and she somehow knew all about 89.1. She told me it was an old legend in our town, and you needed two things to explore the legend further: a radio and the closet with the door slightly open. Face away from the closet, tune into 89.1 and listen very closely. At some point through the static, you'll hear faint sounds of an organ, distant screaming, and the dragging of metal chains across the gravelly surface. The open doorway is an invitation. Keep your eyes closed, and only if you keep your eyes closed, a figure will appear and drag you into the closet. From there, your fate is unknown. How do you know this? I asked. I've heard about it, she said. Don't tell anyone. The less people that know, the better. I looked out my window and saw Abby in her bedroom. She put her finger up to her lips. This is our secret, the walkie-talkie buzzed. For the next few days, I kept thinking about the ritual and Grandma Rosie. Why would she be playing this game? Why did she want to be dragged into an unknown fate? I again told my parents that I was worried about Grandma Rosie, and they were dismissive. Ever since Grandpa died, I think she wants to let go, my mom said. She wants to be with him. I wanted to know more, so I decided to try the game myself. It was late at night, and I opened my closet door just a crack. I sat in my bed with my back to the closet, tuned my radio to 89.1, and put on my headphones. I heard the static, and I closed my eyes. I sat there for a long time, focusing very hard on the static. The longer I sat there, the more it felt like my room was shrinking, kind of like a space was filling up with something else, like I wasn't alone. In my headphones, I heard a distant organ, and I heard the screams that seemed far away, but sounded like they were getting closer. The screeching of the metal began, and then I heard a voice. Open your eyes. I jumped from my bed, very startled. Abby was laughing hysterically through the walkie talkie. I looked around my bedroom, and I was alone. I looked out the window and saw Abby smiling and giggling. She brought the walkie talkie up to her mouth. I totally scared you, she said. There's no one in there. You're such a wuss. I noticed the closet door. It was wide open. The static of 89.1 hissed from my headphones. I was only joking, the walkie talkie chirped, but I wasn't so sure it was a joke. Grandma Rosie died 2 weeks later in her sleep. Her time had come, and I was done fooling around with legends and superstition. Jake's story was the most interesting of the bunch. His writing needed some tightening, sure, but the ideas were there. A mysterious legend, sentimental characterizations, and ambiguous ending. I truly thought he had invented the whole thing until I read Kate's submission. Kate's flash fiction. Panic. Fear. No one would believe me, not ever. I told him I was joking about everything. It helps me sleep at night. I know what I saw. A young boy, a ritual, and death. Death itself. A black death with a clutching grip, an entity that surrounds its victim, dragging a companion to its secret and eternal lair. But I was joking all along, which made it okay. I had to know, no more. I went to a room. It felt recently vacated, like the plug had just been pulled from a sink. Headphones on the floor, static, nothing but static. Noises from the closet, labored breathing, fingernails squeaking on the door from the inside. I clutched the handle. Something, something else. Something dark. I can't open it. It won't open it. Refuse to let it out. I slowly backed away, a tiny voice squeaking, Help me. Static echoing in a small room, but nothing but static. I closed the door on my way out. Won't let it out. Won't tell. Will never tell. My story doesn't exist. It's simply not there. It's nothing but static. Here I had two seemingly intertwined stories. Jake's more traditional folklore story and Kate's personalized flash fiction, focusing on emotion, regret, and secrets. Perhaps I'd been swimming in urban legends too long, or maybe I'd been the victim of too many horrendous student essays and short stories to count. But I couldn't shake the notion this seems real. A few days after Halloween, I kept Kate after school. I wanted to know more. Specifically, was she the Abby character in Jake's story? And she was confused. And she and was she confessing to visiting the grandmother in her own piece? I pulled out Kate's flash fiction and I was about to and asked about how she wrote it. What was her inspiration? She shrugged. I guess it's avant garde. I was just experimenting with ideas. Did you like it? I nodded. It was an interesting piece, I told her. Have you ever heard 89.1? Kate asked me. I started to speak, but couldn't. A few words sputtered out, but were interrupted by Kate's laughing. Oh my gosh, Mr. Patrick, the whole thing was just a joke. Kate explained how she and Jake conspired to write multiple viewpoints of the same story, partially as a creative writing exercise, but mainly just to screw with me. The whole thing was made up. It was a Halloween prank. We so got you, Mr. Patrick, Kate laughed. I smiled uncomfortably. It was a good one. And yes, they got me. I told her that I enjoyed her piece. Let's continue developing your avant-garde writing and enjoy your Halloween. But something didn't feel right. I had drinks with a veteran freshman English instructor. Me, the first year teacher in a new town, and he, the wily old mentor. I told him about the assignment and the stories Jake and Kate turned in. He laughed and thought about it a bit more. That just seems off, he said. You said Jake and Kate conspired to play a joke. They were they were thick as thieves in my class at the start of the year, but in the fall they stopped talking. Wouldn't even look at each other anymore. Had some sort of falling out. I guess they made up. For the next few weeks, I watched Jake and Kate closely, in my class and in the hallways. They didn't speak once, never even looked at each other. I scheduled a story conference with Jake and let him know how much I enjoyed his growth as a writer, especially his Halloween Flash fiction piece. I grinned and told him that his prank with Kate had totally burned me. And Jake smiled awkwardly. "Ooh, we got you, huh?" he said. "It was Kate's idea." Everything was made up, he claimed. There was no 89.1, and he had no grandmother who passed away in a home. All of the characters and situations were straight, 100% fiction. I told him good job and to keep writing. Still, the situation seemed amiss, like I was missing part of the act. Was it possible that these two were so committed to screwing with me that they wouldn't even speak at school? Or maybe they were dating and didn't want anyone else to know? So they played it cool in the hallways and in class. They were 15-year-old kids after all. That seemed reasonable. But it was keeping me awake at night. Nothing else mattered. I taught during the day and I observed over the stories in the evening. News, sports, and current events faded into the background. The real world slipped away. I pushed forward. Armed with a couple of possible last names, thank you, school records, I called senior citizen homes in the area. I was trying to track down my mom's old friend Rosie, I told them. Each phone call followed the same script. The receptionist went through the files and found nothing. No one there by either last name I had. I scoured the internet and spent I scoured the internet and spent too much time in the stacks of the local library. I found no folklore or urban legends relating to 89.1. And each time I felt like quitting, I pulled out my photocopy of Kate's story. Had she had visited Jake's grandmother. It simply felt so real. I knew it wasn't fake. In a last ditch effort, I spent a lot of time alone in my bedroom listening to the static of 89.1 with my eyes closed and the door slightly ajar. I'd hone in on the static, and I'd listen deeply and intently for the chimes of an organ, the harsh and troubled screams in the distance, and the clickety clink of the metal chains. Sometimes I'd think it was there, and I just had to focus a little harder. And I'd sense a presence in my bedroom about to creep out of my closet, the dark mist waiting to drag me away. I wanted it to come because I wanted this story to be real, but it didn't come. One day at school, I saw Jake and Kate smiling and laughing at Jake's locker. I walked past them and Kate winked at me. That was the clincher. I finally succumbed to the notion that I'd been had. It was over. I ended my search for 89.1. I had drinks again with my colleague, many drinks this time, and I drunkenly told him everything I had been doing. He found my investigation ridiculous and ultimately dangerous. You like stories too much, he said. If I didn't know any better, it's almost like you were trying to write one of your own. Just let it go. I pulled out the photocopied stories from my backpack and pressed them down on the bar, staining them with splashes of beer. My colleague picked up Jake's story and he took a look at it for the first time. His eyes skimmed the page and they stopped cold. Wait, he said. You never told me about Abby. I shrugged. Abby was Kate, I told him. It was all part of the game. I wonder, he thought out loud to himself. Hmm. He laid it out for me. A year ago, about 10 months before I moved into town, an eighth grader named Abby had gone missing, seemingly vanished into thin air. One minute she was alone in her room, and the next minute she was gone. Some suspected that she ran away, but there were no clues. No evidence of foul play, no suspicious or shady family members or neighbors. She was simply gone. I read Kate's piece. Oh, wait, I should be saying this in my narrator voice. I read Kate's piece again. My heart sank. The whole time I assumed it was about her visiting the grandmother, but maybe I was wrong. Maybe the squeaks and pleas coming from the closet were coming from Abby. Kate never specified who she was visiting or where she was. I read the avant garde flash fiction one more time, honing in on every word just to be sure. And at that moment, everything changed. I spoke with the school administration. They contacted the authorities, and the police had conversations with Jake and Kate. It went nowhere. It didn't matter that Abby had lived across the street from Jake. It didn't matter that we had words on paper. They were just stories, the kids said. Only stories. Complete fiction. Jake had no grandparents in a home anyway. They were sorry if they'd scared anyone. They were Halloween stories, after all, and pretty ambiguous stories at that. Jake even tearfully apologized for naming a fictional character after a missing girl. It hadn't crossed his mind. And I was now the monster for dragging two innocent kids into this mess. The staff ostracized me, and the town crucified me. I was done. I left the teaching profession soon after that. I walked out of the school holding my small crate of supplies, and Kate smirked at me with a knowing glance, through a first floor window. I haven't seen her since. I didn't take much with me, but I did take the photocopies of the stories. I pull them out occasionally and relive the past, and sometimes, late at night, I'll get a fire in my belly and a burning desire to travel back to that small Wisconsin town. Maybe Grandma Rosie was a great aunt that Jake's family referred to as Grandma. Or maybe it was an elderly family friend. Maybe I missed something about the missing girl, about 89.1, about Kate's intentions. Perhaps I can try the ritual a few more times just to see what happens. Or maybe it's just all bullshit. It was 10 years ago, and I'm probably the only one that thinks there's a shred of truth behind those stories. I'd be wasting my time. But it still keeps me up at night, the slim chance that it's all true, and oftentimes the idea of it is something I contemplate more than what I'm really what? And oftentimes the idea of it is something I contemplate more than what really happened to Abby and the grandmother in the story. If it is true, why did the kids write it all down like that? I don't have a good answer. I'll never have one. I suppose that's that. Just like me, they really just enjoy a good story. The end. I'm missing all the talking. Thank you, thank you. Does anyone have any more stories? Wait. Hey, what's up, Rainer? Yeah, that's a good idea, Rainer. I think that maybe, just maybe, I will go read a story from Rainer. Haley. I didn't see. When did you get here, Haley? I must have been busy reading. But now, see, now I gotta find a story that I haven't already read of Raynor's. Well, I guess it doesn't matter if. All right, Reaper man, thanks for coming in and hanging out, man. I appreciate it. All right. I think I found a story. I I think this story. All right. The Wailing, huh? I'll have to find it. Let me find it. You're in freezer. Please kill me. Let's see here. Where'd Haley go? There she is. You got here like an hour ago? What the heck, Haley? I didn't even see you were in here. All right. Soul friendship. Breath. Wailing. Where? All right, I'm looking for the Wailing. Bitter winter. Ah, the Wailing. I found it. I'm sorry, I must have not have seen you say hello, Haley. Was I reading when you got here? Man, 16 people still here. Thank you, everybody. I'm actually surprised that so many people wanted to come hang out with me. That's pretty awesome. Ah, Wimp, is that Elijah? What up, Elijah? Hey, thank you, Mr. Reality. Well, thank you, everybody. All right, so I am going to read Rainer Lewington's story, The Wailing. Thank you, Double Jack. You are good at sneaking, Haley. It was hard for me to keep up with the chat there for a while. All right, so The Wailing. This happened just over an hour ago, and I'm still unsure of what to do. Normally, I just write and hear about crazy experiences like this, and I'm not the person who actually had the experiences with real life monsters. But that all changed tonight. I live in an apartment complex, and I take my laundry out to the main office to wash and dry it. And I usually do it late on Thursday nights, but I was terrified for my first time during a trip down there. Nothing much scares me anymore. I've seen it all: beheadings, tearing of flesh, brutal acts of violence and murder, people vanishing without a trace or witness. I've witnessed it all, and none of that scares me. But something tonight sent more than a chill down my spine. For the first time in a long time, I don't know if I'll be safe or if even the authorities can protect me. I thought the sounds would have quiet. I thought the sounds would have went quiet by now, but They haven't stopped. I just need to stay calm and talk about how all this started. I went down as usual to the main office with my laundry basket and tossed my dirty laundry down into a washing machine and paid for a quick cycle. I came back a few minutes early and removed the clothing from the washing machine. I didn't see any harm in removing my clothes just 2 minutes before the cycle ended, and I did. I placed them into the nearby dryer and closed up the washer, but something unusual started happening. The washer started to move again, and a strange sound began to echo in the room. It hurt my ears just to hear the slightest vibration it was making. The sound coming from the machine sounded less like a machine and more like a painful wail. It continued on for several minutes. I couldn't believe what I was hearing and tried to record the audio, but by the time I had pulled out the camera on my phone, the sound had stopped. I walked over to the machine in shock and wondered why it was making that noise, but when I opened the machine up, I saw something that both scared me and made absolutely no sense. Inside, at the bottom, I saw a shadow of a face. No, it was more like the color of a face that was that of a shadow. It didn't seem human. It had a blank expression, one mute of features or any signs of life. But just as I began to get a closer look at it, the eyelids opened to reveal two dark spheres, and a straight line that was its mouth opened up in a tunnel that let out a piercing wail. The scream was so powerful it threw me back against the table, and the washer lid closed again after I let go of it, and the washer lid closed again after I let go of it. The sound stopped again once the lid had shut itself. I set a timer on my phone and went for the dryer. Wait, no, I set a timer on my phone for when the dryer would be done and ran out. I ran out of the office and began to race my way back to my apartment, but stopped dead in my tracks as I came face to face with that shadow figure in full form. It was about a foot taller than me, making it 7 feet tall. It had a slender form but seemed to tower over me in the moonlight. I could see its face now. It slowly blinked its dark, soulless eyes at me, studying every inch of me. I slowly began to walk away back towards my apartment, hoping that maybe I would be able to get away from it without it attacking me. But just a few paces after that thought went. But just a few paces after that one. But just a few paces after that thought went through my head, I heard it wailing at me and began to run again as I heard the thundering footsteps of the figure. It may have been a complete shadow, but by the sounds, by the sounds it was making with its very feet as it ran after me, something told me I shouldn't let this thing strike me, or it would be like getting hit by an oncoming train. I raced up a short flight of stairs to my apartment and locked myself in. I could hear the thunderous slams of its fists against my door and its wails demanding to be allowed entry. I called the police and hid in my bathroom. I made sure the operator stayed on the line with me the entire time so they could document whatever happened. But by the time the police arrived, the noises had stopped. I opened my door to see if anyone was there, but I only saw a police cruiser driving away from my apartment, almost as if nothing had happened. It was strange because I asked if the operator was hearing the same noises I was, but they claimed they didn't hear what I was describing. They heard the banging at my door, but no wailing noises. They dismissed my call and hung up on me. I wasn't sure if I was being pranked or if all this was just some crazy hallucination I was having. None of it made any sense. All I wanted was to clean my laundry, and this strange abomination started attacking me. I decided to wait for over an hour until I felt the coast was clear and made my way out to the office to retrieve my clothes from the dryer. I didn't notice it on my way out, but I nearly dropped my basket when I came back. My apartment door is a thick oak door reinforced with steel. The door was beaten so badly that I could see the steel and showed evidence of claws dragging through the wooden metal. It was worn down to the thickness of a sheet of paper. I closed the door carefully and locked it again. I'd have to I'd have to call the repairman to repair the door in the morning, but I didn't feel that all of this was quite over. I closed and locked all the windows and shut all the blinds. I locked my I locked my bedroom and went to go take a long shower. I got out of the shower and dressed for bed, trying to relax and find some sleep. Part of me felt that it was all over, and part of me felt like it was all just beginning. Right as I was about to fall asleep and my eyes had shut, I shot awake because what sounded like was coming from the office. I heard the sounds of the wailing again. I remember you telling me about this story, Rainer. Anyone else got any stories? If you don't have a Discord and you want to send me a story to read, you can send it to me on Twitter. If you are on my Twitter, you can send me a message with the link to a specific story. I would love, in a world where one man wants to do nothing more than read narrations and talk about movies, one crow stands alone with no job and no money. Alrighty. Thank you. Does anyone else have any stories that they would like for me to read? Hey, Alexander Peterson. I see your name on there, boy. Hey, everybody. Alexander Peterson, that's my son. That's my son right there. He nothing but trouble. Nothing but trouble. Nothing but trouble. No, I'm just playing. He all right. He good. He good. Um, an impromptu story. Yes, Heather. Alexander Peterson is my oldest son. Yes, that is Xander, my oldest son. Tell him, boy. Why does my chat keep disappearing on me? All right, so an impromptu story. How about I tell you guys, this isn't really a scary story, but it's pretty cool. I'll tell you guys the story of how I seen fairies in the woods. Would you like to hear the story about how I've seen real life fairies? All right. So is Haley, try to maybe try to like refresh the page. It might help. All right. So this was a few years ago. Quite a few. I can't even remember how long ago, but it was quite a few years ago. And I was got invited to a good friend of mine. He worked in a forest doing habitat restoration, and he pretty much like lived in this woods. And it was, I want to say, it was either 150 or 300 acres of just like unadulterated land that they were restoring back to its natural state. And he invited me out there. I had never been out there, and it was his birthday. So he picks me up and we go out there, and we stopped a few other places, partied a little bit and things like that nature. And it was about 1 o'clock in the morning when we finally made it out there. And he takes us out there through the woods at night to the campsite, and we set up a camp and everything else. But then he was all excited and he was like, "Hey, I want to show you all my favorite places out here." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, okay." So we go down to Blue Barrel Springs first, and it was like a spring that had a blue barrel in the water, and that was where he got the water, and you could drink it. You didn't have to boil the water. It was good water to drink. So we stopped there, had a drink and stuff like that, and he's telling me how the next place he wants to go is down here. Now, it's important to note that there was a riverbed that spanned across the entire property. Okay, the whole property, there was a riverbed. At one point, it turned into a deep kind of valley, and that's what I'm doing, Xander. I'm telling them about how I seen the fairies in the woods, boy. Okay. So there was a valley, and then it goes down. There is the spring where you get the water, and then it was just muddy for the rest of the way, just a whole bunch of mud. And so we drink the water, then we follow the spring, or we follow the riverbed, I'm sorry, down. And he's telling me about these yellow birch trees that he likes to go and he hangs out over there, just sits there, and he has this crazy mystical feeling whenever he's there. So we're going and we're going. He didn't tell me where it was. And we got to this point, and I was like, we're here right now, aren't we? And he was like, yeah, right there. And he points over across the riverbed. And yeah, Xander, Haley Clark there. That's my girlfriend, Xander. But so there's these yellow birch trees across the riverbed. We couldn't cross because it was all muddy and nasty and stuff. And I'm sitting there, and we didn't have any lights or anything. It was a clear sky though. Beautiful sky. Oh, it was a beautiful sky. The stars were gorgeous that night. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I am getting this crazy feeling here. And out of the corner of my eye, I seen this little, like, a light go like shoo, and I couldn't really, it was really faint, and I wasn't even sure that I had seen it. So then I didn't say anything to him at that point. I just was confused because I wasn't sure that I had even seen it. But then I seen another one, and then I seen another one. So finally I was like, dude, are you seeing this? And he was like, no, what are you talking about? And I'm like, just keep an eye across the way there at the trees, over by the trees, and just look for any movement or weird light or something. And I see another one, and eventually he sees it too. That big Papa Crow. Yeah, you right. You right. But eventually he sees it too. And so he's like, "Oh man, I did see it, right?" And it was like these little squigglies, but I don't. It's really hard to explain the movement, but it was super faint. You could barely even see it in the darkness. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this is the coolest thing. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, all these lights started popping up on the ground, on the plants, everywhere. This joom joom just started lighting up all around us, and it wasn't like you know how a lightning bug has like that yellowish light. It wasn't that sort of light. It was like a bluish white light that almost looked like a star or something weird, and they just kept popping up. And then all of a sudden, there was like thousands of them that lit up all around us. And we would try to touch them, and they would fade away. They would go and fade away to nothing. And then when we would back away again, they would slowly come back into light. And it happened over and over again. Whenever we would get close to them, they would fade away into nothing, and then they would come back. And we even pulled out our flashlights, tried to look, tried to see if there was insects, tried to come up with some sort of logical explanation for what we were seeing. There was nothing. We weren't even on any drugs or nothing, dude. We weren't on nothing, believe it or not, surprisingly enough. And we sat there for a long time and just kind of enjoyed the show, just like checking them out and everything else. It looked like stars on the ground, but it wasn't reflections. It wasn't anything like that. And eventually, it was getting late. We had stayed there for maybe an hour. So I don't know how long we stayed there. I have no idea actually how long we stayed there. But yeah, acid is a hell of a drug, but we were not on it, Devil Jack. But so eventually he was like, okay, man, well, I still got other places to show you, man. There's still a lot more places to show you. This is crazy, but we got to go and we got to have to get back to camp anyways at some point in time. And we couldn't have slept there. It was too nasty anyhow. So I'm like, all right, man, let's go. And mind you, this is the first time I'd ever been there. I didn't know my way around this place at all. I didn't know jack about this place. So we turned, all right, so we're facing the riverbed. The riverbed goes all the way across the entire property. We turned 180 degrees directly behind us and walked straight away from the riverbed. So I'm following him. Oh, yeah, I've tripped on acid lots of times. Don't do it, kids. It's bad. All right, so we walked directly away from the riverbed. All right. And I'm following my friend because he knows where he's going. He's the one that wanted to show me different various things, things like that. So I'm following him and we're just going. And eventually I notice he's starting to act kind of panicked. Like he's looking around, starting to breathe hard, stuff like that. And so I ask him, I'm like, Paul, what's wrong, dude? Are you all right? And he just stops and he's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? He was like, dude, I have lived out here basically in these woods for years. I have walked out here in the middle of the night countless times. I don't know where I'm at. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know where you're at, dude? And he was like, I don't know where I'm at. I'm lost and I'm freaking out. And I said, well, whoa, whoa, don't panic, calm down. And I'm like, let's just stop and try to figure out where we're at. So I'm looking about, I'm looking around, and I see that there's like a little opening in the distance. And I'm like, look, there's a little break in the trees over there. Let's go out there, look at the stars, and try to reorient ourselves and figure out where we're at so that we know where to go. He's like, that's a good idea. So we head out there and we come to the opening. And when we got out to this is where things started getting weird. When we got out to the opening, the stars had like looked like they had completely flipped around and nothing was where it should have been in the sky. Like it didn't make any sense to us, neither one of us. When we looked up at the sky, it made zero sense. So we ended up on a trail. That was the opening. The opening was a trail, and then there was like a field with like a pond or something. And we couldn't make hide nor hair of the stars, but I'm like, look, dude, we're on a trail. So let's follow one way or the other on this trail, and eventually we'll find out where we are. And he was like, you're right, we will definitely. So we start going this way on the trail. And eventually we start seeing this reflection in the distance. And I'm like, what the hell is that over there? And he starts freaking out. And he's like, this don't make any fucking sense. This don't make any fucking sense. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? This don't make any sense. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, dude. And we get over there and it was Blue Barrel Spring. What we seen was the barrel in the ground. But what was weird is we came up on Blue Barrel Spring from the opposite side of the riverbed from where we started. But we never once ever crossed the riverbed the entire way that we were walking. So it was literally like we had like walked all the way around the world and came on the other side of the riverbed because we never crossed that motherfucker. We never went over some valley. We never went over some water. And we never went striking through the mud. And we turned directly around and walked away from the riverbed when we left. And that's when I was like, you know what we seen, bro? It was fairies. It had to have been fairies, and they fucked with your head and they messed with you. It was your birthday. It was my first time there. They decided to have some fun with you. So, I mean, that's the only explanation I got. And to this day, that is by far the coolest thing I have ever seen in the woods. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And I don't know what else could have been besides fairies. No clue. I'd never seen anything like it before. So what else, guys? Man, we've been doing this for an hour and 45 minutes now. Nice. So am I doing all right with the live stream? I've never done this before. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. No clue. Well, thank you. I'm a pro. Wow, I'm professional. Well, okay, let me run something by you guys. So I've been thinking about starting to do something like a Murder Monday, to where I will do the live readings like I did today, basically, every Monday at a certain time, and we could all get together, hang out like this, and I could do some readings every single Monday. Would that be all right with you guys? Would you like to do that? And maybe instead of me putting out a video on Monday, I could do the Murder Mondays instead for Mondays, or I could still do the video on Monday. I mean, who cares, right? All right, so yeah. So we'll start doing that. So I guess this coming Monday, I will do this again then. What time? Now, mind you, I'm going to tell you Eastern Standard Time. What time for Eastern Standard Time works for you guys? I'm disabled. I got a lifetime of Saturdays. 99% of the time I ain't got shit to do really. So where do we hide the bodies? We eat the bodies, Boogeyman. We eat them. We eat them. We crush the bones up. We scatter the bones throughout the freaking woods. God, hide the body. You don't hide. You hide them in your freaking stomach. Don't you know how to get rid of people? This isn't my first rodeo. So we could have it start like it did today, just at 9 p.m. my time. 9 p.m. my time would work, but if you're over in the UK or across the pond over there, that makes it very, very late for those people. Like very late for those people. And if they want to come, I would feel kind of bad because then it would be really late for them. Of course, I mean it's gonna. I don't know. I guess I can't. I'm not gonna be able to like please everyone. So I guess Haley has zero fucks given. So 6 my time, that would be like 3 over in Cali, and I'm afraid if it's like 6 for Eldritch would be 11, or 6 for me would be 11 for Eldritch and Haley. I could do it at 6. I could do it at 6, and it would probably last probably as long as this one. How late is it for me right now? Right now it is 10:48 for me. 10:49 p.m. At the tone, the time will be 10:49 p.m. There's no tone. I lied to you. Heather would miss it if I did it at 6. Yeah, because that would be like 5 for Heather, and a lot of times she'd be working probably. But yeah, see, for Eldridge, it's late as fuck for you guys over there. Yeah, Johnny's over in California. So I guess for yeah, I'll probably like set it up maybe a half hour beforehand because I set it up a little early this time and scheduled it a bit early just to kind of see what was going on since it was my first time. I wanted to know what the hell was going on. So I probably set it up like a half hour early so notifications go out. Then I'll spam Twitter and things of that nature as well. to try to get the word out. And you guys feel free to, what do they say? Smash that like button. The hell, I think everybody already has, honestly. Um, but feel free to spam my live streams on Twitter and stuff like that. Try to get new people in and try to get as many people in as possible. And like I said before, man, you guys share all your subs around and everything else. Community. We gotta stick together. Smaller channels and even bigger channels, if they want to join in on a community and support each other, then let's do it, right? But I gotta warn all of you, all you male narrators out there. I'm coming for your jobs. I got no problem with you, but I'm coming for your jobs. You can call me Big Papa Crow if you want to. You are more than welcome. I am big, I am a papa, and I am a crow. So I mean, it's legit. That's legit. Aha, yeah, that's a good idea for warnings. Murder Mondays and Wednesday warnings. Nice. Yeah, yeah, John, you got some job security. Poppy Crow at Xander. Xander boy. Boy, you getting weird with it, man. Don't get weird on me, boy. You my son. Don't get weird. You don't call me Poppy. That's that. What the fuck? The fuck, boy. No, whoa, 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 whoa. See, the homo isn't the issue. I got no problem with gay. I have no problem with someone being gay or not being gay. That doesn't bother me at all. The problem is I'm your father. What the hell, dude? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the problem isn't whether you're gay or not. The problem is I'm your dad. They ain't dirty thoughts I'm making. See, Xander, what you don't understand is when you use the term boy, BOI, that is actually a sexual term when it's used. You kids nowadays might not realize that, but us older folk, we know that. That's some yaoi shit you bleeding into right there, son. That's why you kids, you don't even know. You don't even know. You said I'm an Aussie or narrator. You can take my job. I can't do an Australian accent for shit though, man. I really can't. It's like if I try to do accents, it's always like the cheesiest possible examples of the accents. Like when I did that the Guzozo, I don't even know the accent that I used when I did the narrator's voice, and I was talking like a this. I don't know what the fuck that is. It just made sense in my head as a storyteller, so I went with it. You know, a Boston accent. Well, you can judge me all you want. I see. I don't really do accents so much. I just don't. I just do weird voices. Like I can do a SpongeBob voice. I can do Patrick. I can do Mr. Krabs. Do a British accent. Are you all right, lover? Be posh like the Queen. Do all three. Wait, what? So I wait. So I need to be from Boston, a Southern Boston Italian that's posh and British. I can't do a Mexican accent. I tried to do that and it was horrible. Dangerous stuff. Do all three SpongeBob? I don't know who you wanted me to do. I'm ready. Hey, SpongeBob. You're scaring away me money. Man, Scoobs, we're gonna go inside this haunted house, smoke a bunch of weed, and eat all their food, man. Yeah, like, I do voices. This isn't even my real voice. This is how I actually talk, guys. No, it's not. I don't do accents. Whoa, why are you choking, Heather? I don't do accents well. I just, she said unsubs. Yeah, I sound like Michael Jackson in real life. Actually, I sound like Mike Tyson. I sound like Mike Tyson in real life, you know? I can also do elbow. Mm-hmm. In Japanese, you do it wait. Wow. You do a Japanese Italian accent, huh? Interesting. I mean, is it accidental? The Japanese Italian accent? Heather, don't die, okay? Don't die, Heather. Joe, my friend. All right, guys, we're going on 2 hours here. I'll probably end up cutting this off soon. Is there any last requests for anything of that nature or anything? Don't die yet. It's not Murder Mondays. Our first victim. Oh, man. It would be really, really hard to narrate a whole story in SpongeBob voice. Dear God, that would be difficult. Creepy clown laugh. Hello, Batman. Batman, it seems that you suffer from ligma. Ligma nuts. Do what as Mr. Krabs' voice? Mr. Krabs' voice is actually painful to do for an extended amount of time. Yeah, but Mr. Krabs, like, the way he talks is I don't know, it's just really hard. SpongeBob, me boy. I don't know, it's weird. It's hard to keep that going. I don't know if I got like enough air in my lungs to actually do a complete sentence like that. You know what I mean? Red stories. Got some popsicles in my basement for you. I'm a strong on paper boy. How can I speak like you, Johnny? How? Well, good thing Xander. You mean my dad's stories? Xander? My dad don't really have any stories like that. All my dad's stories are like weird and awkward and perverted and crass and weird. I don't even like it when he tells them. All right, Mr. Reality. Thanks for stopping by, man. I appreciate it. He brought them up because Xander knew they were weird and awkward and strange. Oh, yeah. My dad did. Okay, so my dad used to hitchhike when he was younger and like before I was born and everything. My dad has hitchhiked all across America. And one time he was picked up by what he swears is hold on. Let me find the guy's name real quick. Okay, right there. He swears that this guy that picked him up, this is who I thought it was, but I couldn't remember his name for some reason, was the serial killer Henry Lee Lucas. He said that the guy picked him up, and the moment that my dad got into this car, he felt like he was like stepped into just like complete and pure evil. And he said my dad had long hair at the time, and and he thinks that the guy thought that he was a woman when he first had picked him up, and but then when the guy saw that he wasn't a woman, he acted differently. And so my dad said that he was basically Henry Lee Lucas. He's yeah, he's pretty serious. He used to roll with Otis Toole, but so he said that he just was basically on alert the entire ride and was just ready to grab the freaking steering wheel and just crash this freaking car at a moment's notice if this dude tried to do anything weird. And he said later, years later, he had seen Henry Lee Lucas on television after they caught him and stuff. And he immediately recognized him. And he said, that was that motherfucker that picked me up. And yeah, that's the end of that story. But he swears up and down that that man picked him up while he was hitchhiking one time. I don't know for how long he did hitchhike after that, but yeah, pretty creepy story nonetheless. He's told me stories about how guys would pick him up, and like this one guy that picked him up, he looked down at my dad's boots and he said, that's some really nice boots you got there." My dad was like, "Oh, thank you." And then the guy was like, "So will you stomp on my balls?" And my dad's like, "What?" It's like, I can pay you. Would you please stomp on my balls? My dad's like, "No, no, dude, I don't want to stomp on your balls." And the guy like kept trying to offer him money for my dad to stomp on his balls with my dad's boots. Hey, what's up, Jose? But yeah, my dad has a couple of strange stories about people picking him up and because I mean this was in like the 70s, I would say. And so yeah, you know. Yeah, the guy must have had some sort of shoe fetish or a boot fetish that wanted his ball sack stomped on. They wanted to stomp all over his bull sack. That's what I told him. I said, dude, you could have got some money and kicked this dude square in the balls just for the hell of it. I mean, it's not like he was asking you to do anything else. He just wanted you to stomp on his freaking bull sack. So, I mean, obviously the dude's pretty weird. He's going to pick up random people on the side of the highway and ask them to kick them in the balls or something. You know what I mean? So yeah, okay, dude, I'm gonna give you a nice swift kick with these fucking steel toes, and maybe you'll learn a lesson or two, and I'll get some money so I can eat for the next few days because I'm a hitchhiker. You know, that would have been my logic behind it. Now, if you would have asked me to continue on to do things after that, then no, I would have just took the money for the ball kicking and left. But yeah, just swift kicking the bulls act, and whatever. Hey, to each their own, and I'm gonna make sure it hurts though. It's gonna hurt a lot. My dad was hitchhiking so that he could travel around and see the United States. So, yep, that was why he was hitchhiking. He wanted to travel around, check out the states, and see the United States. Now, me, I've barely ever gotten out of Michigan. Unfortunately, I've had kids young and I've been broke my whole life, so just haven't had any money to travel around. And hitchhiking's not as easy to do anymore. My chat disappeared again. Why does my chat keep disappearing? Really, you gonna pop on for like 2 seconds and then disappear again on me, huh? That's nice. That's real nice. I'm really happy that you do this to me, chat. How can I interact with my friends here when you disappearing and I can't even see you, chat? There you are. Uh, Corey, no, I don't plan on being live all night. I'll probably cut this off pretty soon. Probably won't be on too much longer. Oh, me, I'll leaving. All right. You have a good one. I don't know why he didn't just drive himself. I think he just wanted to travel like that. I think he wanted to travel light and be kind of free or something. You know what I mean? Like my dad, wanted to be free, man. That's my guess, at least. Jose, I think Meow just left. Yeah, my dad is a bit. He still is a bit of a hippie. Yeah, it is way cheaper to hitchhike than to pay for all the gas. That is for sure. Yeah, and hitchhike. Yeah, Haley's right. Hitchhiking back then, it was very common. A lot of people did it back then. So it was pretty normal to do back then. All right, though, everyone. It's been a good 2 hours. No, Xander, I don't think so. But if they are, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah, I don't care. No, no, there ain't no sense in it. If he wants to be with Craig, he can be with Craig. I don't care. Don't matter to me, man. No, I know he ain't judging. He know better than that. I slap shit out that boy. Try to pull some shit like that. Hey, thanks, Devil Jack. So, all right. So I'll be back Monday. We'll be back Monday to do some more live readings, just some more shooting the shit and things of that nature. Yes, Corey, I actually plan on doing this every Monday now at probably roughly the same time this one started. Wait, is that what did we agree upon 9 or 6? Which one? 9 or 6? Am I going to do some kids books? I actually wouldn't mind reading some Dr. Seuss or something like that. I assume that Wimp is Elijah, so I know that Dr. Seuss is probably around your reading level. So would you like to hear some Dr. Seuss? And Elijah, you better have my money, boy. Where that $60, boy? Where that money, boy? Yeah, I don't know. I could probably find Dr. Seuss somewhere online to read it, like just read it off of. I like reading whatever. I like reading poetry and everything else. All right, so nine. Nine it is. We'll do nine. And unfortunately, for the people that it is later for, that'll make it harder for them and they won't be able to be here as often as they would like or I would like them to be. But, I can't please everybody, unfortunately. So, all right, I'm going to end this live stream and I will see you all this Monday. But all right, though, guys, this has been very, very fun. And I'd like to thank you all for stopping in. I'd like to thank you all for hanging out. Haley Clark, I love you. Xander, I love you too. And I would like to thank you all for 300 subs and for all the support that I get from all of you guys on Twitter, on freaking Discord, and on YouTube, all of it. Yes, Heather, you too. Geez. Say something about Elijah. What about him? Elijah better have my $60, boy. Get flexed on, Elijah. Come on. Bring it. Bring it, boy. You don't want none of this. I'll flex on you, son. Anyways, yeah, Elijah need to give me my money, man. Give me that motherfucking money, man. I ain't playing with you. Think this is a game? This ain't no game, boy. Deformed egghead. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I don't mind my egghead. I'm all good with that. You think this is a game, boy? Nah, this is Nintendo Switch. It's a handsome egg. All right, though. Again, thank you to everybody. Heather, you have a good night. Haley, I love you. Xander, I love you. Elijah better have my motherfucking money. And everybody else, thank you. Thank you for supporting me and being awesome. And I will see you guys on Twitter, see you guys on YouTube, and see you guys Monday. I love you too, Haley. Goodbye. Do I want to end my stream?